Hello, you're watching World News on TVP World, live from Warsaw. My name is Sasha Farbach. The Pentagon's new national defense strategy released on Friday says Washington will provide more limited support to allies, pressing partners in Europe and Asia to take greater responsibility for their own defense. The shift reflects a reordering of U.S. security priorities, with protecting the American homeland and Western Hemisphere now ranked above confronting China.
Washington confirms fighting the Russian threat is primarily Europe's responsibility. In its defense strategy published Friday, the U.S. said its support for the region would be more limited. All the while, America would focus on the Western Hemisphere.
We will guarantee U.S. military and commercial access to key terrain, especially the Panama Canal, Gulf of America and Greenland.
This is the Western Hemisphere, this is where we live, and we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors and rivals of the United States.
In addition, the new strategy also looks at China, particularly amid the speed, scale and quality of Beijing's historic military buildup. As such, Washington seeks to
deter China in the Indo-Pacific through strength, not confrontation.
Analysts note the U.S. now takes a softer approach towards China compared to the 2018 strategy published during Donald Trump's first term as president. The 2026 strategy highlights engagement between Trump and China's President Xi Jinping, whereas the earlier master plan said that China wished to shape the world consistent with their authoritarian model. In the same breath, the 2018 strategy was also harsher on Russia.
China and Russia are now undermining the international order from within the system by exploiting its benefits while simultaneously undercutting its principles and rules of the road.
The difference between the two stances also lies in the fact that the U.S. went from calling out China and Russia for undermining the international order in 2018 to calling the very same international order a cloud castle abstraction in 2026. And other than on paper, the U.S. approach is also visible in practice.
This operation violates a fundamental principle of international law. It violates the UN Charter.
That is how the UN described the U.S.'s January military intervention in Venezuela, combined with the seizure of President Nicolas Maduro, whom Washington called a narco-trafficker. In the aftermath, the U.S. Defense Secretary said that
President Trump is deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere.
The U.S. expands the same argument as to why it should obtain control of Greenland, the semi-autonomous territory of Denmark.
This enormous, unsecured island is actually part of North America, on the northern frontier of the Western Hemisphere. That's our territory. It is therefore a core national security interest of the United States of America.
Aside from extending influence over the Western Hemisphere, deterring China in the Indo-Pacific and increasing burden sharing with allies, Washington's new strategy also prioritizes boosting the U.S. defense industrial base.
Thank you very much. Have a great life.
For TVP World, I'm Sonia Agatabishchan.
Earlier this week, President Trump's remarks suggesting that Allied forces had remained off the front lines, drawing widespread condemnation across Europe, with leaders and veterans emphasizing the heavy human cost borne by NATO allies during the war in Afghanistan. Among those responding critically was Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, who issued a public rebuke of Trump despite the traditionally cordial relations between the two leaders.
Over the course of nearly 20 years of commitment, our nation has borne a cost that cannot be questioned. 53 Italian soldiers killed and more than 700 wounded, while engaged in combat operations, security missions, and programs to train Afghan forces. Statements that minimize the contribution of NATO countries in Afghanistan are unacceptable, especially when they come from an allied nation. Italy and the United States are bound by solid friendship, founded on shared values and historical collaboration, which is even more necessary in the face of the many challenges we currently face. But friendship requires respect, a fundamental condition for continuing to guarantee the solidarity that underpins the Atlantic Alliance.
After backlash from allies and veterans, President Donald Trump has partially walked back his criticism of NATO's role in Afghanistan, acknowledging the sacrifices of British troops, but failing to recognize contributions from other allies.
The great and brave soldiers of the United Kingdom will always be with the United States of America. In Afghanistan, 457 died, many were badly injured, and they were among the greatest of all warriors. It's a bond too strong to ever be broken. The UK military, with tremendous heart and soul, is second to none except for the USA. We love you all, and always will. President Donald J. Trump.
Friday night's barrage of Russian drones and missiles on Kyiv and Kharkiv, two of Ukraine's largest cities, has killed at least one person, injured dozens of others, and left more than 1 million people without power in the sub-zero winter cold. This comes as American, Ukrainian, and Russian officials wrap up trilateral peace talks in the Middle East without a breakthrough.
In the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, the night sky was lit by explosion as a mass Russian drone attack targeted at least 3 districts late Friday. At least one person was killed, and the strikes ignited several major fires, leaving much of the capital without electricity, heat, or water as temperatures plummeted to minus 13 degrees Celsius. The onslaught extended to Kharkiv, where 11 people were injured after drones struck a maternity hospital, a medical college, and several dormitories.
Preliminary reports indicate that 25 Shaheeds struck the city of Kharkiv. 11 people who are injured are now being treated. Some of them suffered moderate injuries. We are currently working and will continue to work through the night to prevent the heating system from freezing.
Even as Russian bombs struck civilians throughout Ukraine, negotiators from the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia convened in the United Arab Emirates for their first joint meeting since the full-scale invasion began nearly 4 years ago. The American delegation, which includes Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, described the initial talks as productive.
What we're hearing is that there are productive talks going on. And I think that's part due to Budanov, who is now taking over the office of the president from Andrei Yermak. I think it's new voices, new energy, more people who are interacting with Zelensky and giving him good advice.
The primary sticking point remains the Donbass, with Russia demanding Ukraine abandon the quarter of territory in Donbass it still controls. The U.S. is proposing a demilitarized, free economic zone for Ukraine's industrial heartland in exchange for robust security guarantees for Kyiv.
During these talks between our president and the Americans, it was once again confirmed that without resolving the territorial issue according to the formula agreed upon in Anchorage, there is no hope of achieving a long-term settlement. I highly value the understanding of the need for American monitoring and oversight of the process of ending the war and ensuring genuine security. The American side raised the issue of potential formats and formalizing the parameters for ending the war, as well as the security conditions required to achieve this.
Western allies and international financial institutions have recently pledged $500 billion over the next decade to rebuild Ukraine's infrastructure and economy. As the meeting in Abu Dhabi came to a close, U.S. officials said they plan to meet again on Sunday, January 31st. For TVP World, Randy Potts.
Away from the horrors of war, some 30 Ukrainian children are finding respite in the Netherlands. Their hometown of Ochakiv is not safe, despite Ukraine managing to push Russia's navy back from the shores in December.
A Ukrainian patrol boat plows the Black Sea waters off the coast of Odessa, now clear of the Russian fleet, which was driven away last month. But there's still work to be done before bolder naval action can be taken.
Only after demining this part of the sea will it be possible to talk about safe launches from Mykolaiv and Kherson ports. But the second important point is the enemy's presence in the Black Sea and Crimea. As you know, they are constantly shelling Ochakiv.
A group of 33 little residents of the town were given the opportunity to take a break from the nerve-wracking reality of living in a war zone. For them, the Dutch town of Driebergen in the Utrecht region has become a sanctuary full of art, nature and tranquility.
I think it's very beautiful here. I love the nature. When you wake up, you hear the birds singing.
The local community is enlivened by a sense of a good deed done.
There are now 100 volunteers from different villages who run things during these 2 weeks. You can see that happening behind me. It's heartwarming.
But memories of Russia's war follow in the children's footsteps.
My father died at the beginning of the war, at the end of 2022. Especially at the beginning of the war, it was incredibly scary. If you walked down the street, there were lots of fighter jets flying overhead. That happens less now, but it's still scary when you hear a loud explosion nearby.
While these children will be returning to their hometown at some point, approximately 1.7 million of their Ukrainian peers have been living the lives of refugees, according to the report released by the United Nations Human Rights Office in March last year.
Let's move to Poland now, where the country's biggest charity fundraiser is gearing up for this season's grand finale. Over 3 decades, the Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity has raised more than €500 million for children facing medical hardship, with celebrities, businesses, and even politicians lending a helping hand.
Healthy tummies for children is the slogan for the 34th grand final of Poland's Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity. This year, the fundraiser is dedicated to helping diagnose and treat gastrointestinal disease in the country's youngest patients.
We want to purchase equipment that will diagnose, treat and rehabilitate using the latest technology and treatment methods.
This weekend, Poland becomes one big charity festival. Dozens of events are already underway, with around 120,000 volunteers involved. The campaign now spans nearly 100 international clubs, and for the first time in the orchestra's history, Malta and India are taking part. The Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity was founded in 1993, when doctors at the country's largest children's hospital couldn't perform heart surgeries due to lack of technology. That's when then radio employee Giorgia took matters into his own hands, organizing a massive fundraiser. On that winter day, people across Poland donated money, jewelry and whatever they could to help sick children, a tradition that continues to this day. Over the past 33 years, the foundation has raised more than €600 million, funding almost 81,000 medical devices. Over the years, the Great Orchestra of a Christmas Charity has become more than a fundraiser. For many Poles, it's true celebration of helping others.
I have been supporting this initiative for years and also participate as a volunteer.
I came to Warsaw especially for the final. I'm glad that this joint initiative brings all of us together. In this depressing world, it gives such good positive energy. I wish it could last a lifetime.
For others, it means saving someone close.
The orchestra saved my grandson's life. Little by little, everyone gives what they can, and thanks to this help, my grandson is still alive.
Entrepreneurs are also turning their business into acts of charity for the weekend. In Opole, for example, hairdressers are donating all proceeds from their services to help children.
The number of people wanting to help is rising. They're coming in for a haircut and at the same time helping save someone's life.
Politicians are also doing their part. The auction's highest bidder will win a special chance to spend some time with Prime Minister Donald Tusk in his office.
I decided to donate these golden cleats to the auction for the Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity. But that's not all. The person who wins the bid for these cleats will sit down with me in this room, in this chair, where once sat Obama, Prince Charles, now King, Prime Minister Trudeau, who wasn't dating Katy Perry back then.
The initiative has touched hearts and became an indispensable part of life for many Poles. Tomorrow, Sunday, the Orchestra Charity Village in Warsaw will come alive for its final, with thousands gathering to give millions of children a chance to a healthy life. Anastasia Yanchenko, TVP World.
And with that, we end this news broadcast, but stay right here on TVP World. World Talks is next.